Hey there, my cherished listeners, welcome back. Tonight, I bring you a story that pulses with desire and bleeds with heartbreak. It's a tale where passion burns hotter than fire, yet destiny cuts colder than steel. Under the silver gaze of the moon, two souls will be drawn together by a bond no force can break, except rejection itself. Longing, betrayal, love, and loss collide in a storm that will test the very limits of the heart. And as the night deepens, one truth will echo louder than fate itself. When the one chosen for you turns away, will it destroy you or awaken a love fierce enough to rewrite destiny? Chapter 1. The Moon's Cruel Gift. The forest was alive with whispers. Wind tangled through the skeletal trees, carrying the sharp scent of pine and the faintest trace of blood. My paws sank into the damp soil, claws digging deep as I tore through the underbrush. Every muscle burned, but I couldn't stop. Not tonight. Not when the pack was at the border and the trespassers were closing in. The moon hung low and swollen above me, staining the world in its pale glow. That silver light ignited the wolf in me, heightening my senses until the earth itself seemed to pulse with energy. My heart pounded, not just with the thrill of the chase, but with something deeper, something primal, ancient, and impossible to ignore. I had shifted to patrol. My duty, my burden, my chance to prove I was more than the Omega-born runt of the pack. And yet, as I pushed myself faster, branches clawing at my fur, my chest tightened with an ache that had nothing to do with exhaustion. Because tonight, something felt different. I skidded to a halt at the riverbank, hackles raised. The water shimmered like liquid mercury beneath the moonlight, the current rushing too fast for a clean crossing. But the scent on the air, rich, electric, devastating, made me forget the danger. Mate. The words slammed into my skull with the force of a lightning strike. My entire body responded at once, fur bristling, lungs seizing, blood roaring in my ears. My wolf howled inside me, desperate, elated, frantic. My mate was close. I lifted my head, golden eyes locking onto the shadows across the river. And then I saw him. Tall, broad-shouldered, his skin bronzed and gleaming with sweat, dark hair tangled as if he'd just shifted back. His scent rolled over the river, cedar and smoke, edged with iron discipline. The bond recognition hit me harder than the icy water ever could. Sparks danced along my skin, and the magnetic pull between us nearly dropped me to my knees. The Alpha. Rowan. The man I'd spent my entire life both fearing and admiring from a distance. The heir turned alpha, ruthless in his command, untouchable in his strength. My pulse stuttered in disbelief. The moon goddess couldn't be this cruel. He was my mate. I shifted back before I could think better of it, skin prickling with cold air as my bones rearranged, for sinking away. Breathless, naked, trembling, I stared at him from across the rushing current. His eyes ice blue, searing, impossibly intense, locked onto mine. Recognition flared in them, undeniable. His nostrils flared as he scented me, his chest rising and falling with a sound that was almost a growl. The bond thrummed between us, a living thing, alive with need and promise. My heart swelled, tears burning in my eyes. For one impossible, glorious moment, I believed. Believed in destiny. Believed that maybe, just maybe, the goddess hadn't cursed me after all. But then his lips curled back, and the sound that left his throat shattered everything. A snarl. No, his voice carried over the river like a blade. Cold. Absolute. Final. The ground swayed beneath me. You. His eyes hardened into steel. You are not my mate. The words cracked through the night like thunder, echoing through the trees, through my bones. But the bond tugged. My wolf screamed. You can't, my voice broke. Rowan, you know it's true. You felt it. I can feel. I said no. His roar split the air, birds scattering from the trees in a flurry of wings. He stepped forward, fury radiating off him. You think the goddess would waste me on you? An Omega? A nobody who barely keeps up on patrol? I staggered back, the insult cutting deeper than claws. My body shook with the force of the rejection, the bond ripping inside me like a wound that wouldn't close. Rowan, his eyes flickered. A shadow of something, pain? Conflict. Before they iced over again. I don't care what you think you feel. The moon goddess made a mistake. I will not claim you. You mean nothing to me. The last thread of hope snapped. Agony ripped through my chest, worse than fire, worse than silver. My knees buckled, and I fell to the riverbank, gasping for air that wouldn't come. The mate bond backlash was brutal, my body convulsing with its rejection. I bit down on a scream, nails digging into the dirt. But even through the haze of pain, I saw him, standing tall, refusing to look away, as if daring me to break. I forced myself upright, swaying. Tears blurred my vision, but my voice came out low, raw. One day, you'll regret this. He flinched just barely. Then, he turned his back on me. The forest swallowed him whole, and with him went the last fragile piece of my heart. I don't remember how I got home. My body was on autopilot, shifting, running, collapsing again and again until finally I staggered into the Omega quarters of a pack house. The tiny cabin creaked under my weight as I stumbled inside, skin clammy, breath ragged. I collapsed onto my bed, the straw mattress scratching against my bare skin. The rejection pain came in waves, relentless, gnawing at my insides. My wolf whimpered, curled tight in the corner of my mind, broken. I pressed my hand to my chest. The bond was still there, faint but thrumming with agony. A constant reminder of what I'd lost before I'd even had it. Rowan was my fated mate. And Rowan had rejected me. The following morning was worse. The whispers started before I even made it to the mess hall. She looks pale. Did you hear? The alpha. No. He wouldn't.
He did.
Right at the border. Goddess, what humiliation. My ears burned. Every eye followed me. The scent of pity thick in the air. Pity and disgust. I kept my head down, grabbed a stale roll of bread, and tried to ignore the way the other Omegas drew away from me as if rejection was contagious. My hands shook as I sat in the corner, forcing myself to chew, though my throat felt like sandpaper. Rowan strode in moments later, towering, perfect, untouchable. Conversations died instantly, the weight of his presence pressing down on the room. His gaze skimmed past me, as if I were invisible. But I wasn't. Not to my wolf. Not to the bond that still screamed his name with every beat of my heart. He felt it too. I could see it in the stiffness of his shoulders, the way his jaw tightened. He couldn't hide it completely. Yet he said nothing. He ate nothing. He gave me nothing. The humiliation was unbearable. I pushed up from the table, ignoring the whispers, ignoring the pain. My legs carried me outside, toward the woods again. Anywhere but here. But as soon as I reached the tree-line, a hand clamped around my wrist. I froze. Rowan. His grip burned against my skin, the bond flaring violently at the contact. Sparks shot up my arm, and for a heartbeat, I swore I felt his control waver. His eyes locked on mine, turbulent, furious. "Stay away from me," he growled. My voice trembled, but I forced the words out. "You can't run from this forever." He leaned in, breath hot against my ear. "Watch me." And then he let go, storming back toward the pack house, as if the bond were nothing but a chain he was determined to break. I stood rooted in place, my chest heaving. My body still ached from the rejection, but somewhere beneath the hurt, a spark of defiance flickered. Because if Rowan thought I was going to quietly accept his rejection, he was wrong. Dead wrong. The moon goddess didn't make mistakes. And no matter how far he ran, no matter how loud he roared, fate would not be denied. Chapter 2. The Weight of Rejection. The days after Rowan's rejection blurred together into a haze of pain and silence. The mate bond gnawed at me constantly, a raw wound that refused to close, a tether stretched too tight and fraying. Every breath I took carried the faint trace of a scent, lingering like smoke after a fire, a reminder that he was near yet unreachable. I try to drown it out in duty. Patrols, chores, errands around the pack house. Anything to exhaust myself enough that maybe the ache would dull when I collapsed into sleep. But the goddess was merciless. Even in dreams, he was there. His ice-blue eyes. His voice, sharp with denial. The way his back had turned on me, as if I were nothing. I woke each morning with the taste of ash in my mouth, my wolf restless, whimpering inside me, begging for the bond to be acknowledged. I had no comfort to give her. Only anger. Only grief. Only defiance. The pack didn't make it easier. Whispers followed me everywhere I went. An Omega dared to be the Alpha's fated mate. An Omega, rejected in front of the goddess's own moon? It was scandal. It was humiliation. And it was entertainment. I felt their eyes on me at every meal, during every training session, when I crossed the courtyard to fetch water. Some stared with pity, others with disgust, most with amusement, but none with respect. Rowan kept his silence. He didn't speak of me.
He didn't look at me.
He didn't so much as acknowledge my existence in the meetings where I served water to the higher ranks, or during pack runs when his wolf thundered past mine with brutal speed, eyes fixed anywhere but on me. He had buried the bond under a mountain of pride and duty. But I couldn't. My wolf couldn't. And no matter how much he denied it, I felt the truth pulsing between us whenever he came near. The bond was alive.
Angry. Starved.
Waiting. It was on the fourth night after the rejection that everything began to change. The alarm howl ripped through the packlands, sharp and urgent, waking me from a restless sleep. My body jolted upright before my mind even caught up, instincts flaring, heart pounding. Intruders. My wolf snarled, ready. I shifted in a rush of fur and bone, the pain of rejection momentarily forgotten as my paws hit the dirt. All around me, other wolves were already racing toward the northern border, the alarm echoing through the trees. I followed, muscles burning as I pushed harder, faster, refusing to be left behind. The scent hit me before the sight did. Rogues. Wild, untamed, reeking of blood and desperation. Their howls pierced the night, savage and unrelenting. By the time I reached the clearing near the border, the fight had already erupted. Wolves clashed in a frenzy of teeth and claws, snarls, and yelps splitting the air. Blood stained the grass. Fur littered the ground. The metallic tang of violence coated my tongue. I threw myself into the fray without hesitation, lunging at the first rogue that broke through the line. My teeth sank into his flank, hot blood filling my mouth as he shrieked. He twisted, claws raking my side, but I held on, my wolf relentless. Another wolf slammed into him, finishing the kill, and I spun, searching for the next threat. That's when I saw him. Rowan. Towering above the chaos, his wolf was a storm of black fur and muscle, every movement precise, lethal. He tore through rogues with terrifying efficiency, his growls reverberating through the ground. Power radiated from him, impossible to ignore. My wolf keened at the sight, equal parts yearning and awe. But there was no time to drown in it. A rogue lunged for him from behind, jaws snapping for his throat. I didn't think. I launched myself forward, colliding with the rogue midair, sending us both crashing to the ground. His teeth tore at me, claws scraping my shoulder, but I fought back with everything I had. Pain blurred my vision, but adrenaline carried me through. With a savage twist, I ripped his throat open. He collapsed, twitching, lifeless. I staggered to my paws, blood soaking my fur, sides heaving. Rowan's wolf turned toward me. For one suspended heartbeat, our eyes locked across the battlefield. Recognition flared again, violent, undeniable. The bond roared between us, alive, furious, demanding. My chest clenched, breath catching, sparks rushing along my skin, even in wolf form. But then his gaze hardened. He turned away without a sound, leaping back into the fight as if I hadn't just saved his life. My heart twisted, a mix of rage and despair clawing at me. The battle raged on. Wolves fell, rogues scattered, The ground shook beneath the weight of combat. Hours felt like minutes until finally, at last, silence fell over the clearing. The rogues were dead or gone. The pack was bloodied, limping, but alive. I shifted back, body trembling with exhaustion and blood loss, clutching my torn shoulder. My knees buckled, and I hit the dirt, gasping. The world tilted around me, stars spinning in the sky. Through the haze, I saw Rowan. He stood at the center of the clearing, blood matted in his fur, eyes glowing in the dark. The pack gathered around him, heads bowed, waiting for orders. He looked every inch the alpha, unyielding, untouchable. And still, he didn't look at me. Not once. My vision blurred. Anger burned hotter than the pain. How dare he? How dare he ignore the bond? Ignore me, when I had just risked everything for him. My hands shook as I pressed them to the wound in my side, sticky with blood. I could feel my strength fading, darkness tugging at the edges of my consciousness. But I forced myself upright. I would not collapse in front of them.
I would not give them that satisfaction.
I stumbled toward the trees, away from the gathering, ignoring the curious stares, the whispers. My legs wobbled beneath me, but I didn't stop until I reached the shadows. There, I finally let myself sink to the ground, clutching my wound, teeth clenched against the pain. My wolf whined, restless, desperate. The bond hummed through me, demanding I seek him out, demanding I yield. I closed my eyes, tears slipping free. No, I whispered to the darkness. I won't beg. Not for him. The forest answered only with silence.
But somewhere behind me, I felt it. His gaze.
Rowan was watching. I could feel the heat of it, the pull of it, even as I refused to turn. Let him watch. Let him ache. Even if he would never admit it. One day he would break. One day the bond would win. But for now, all I had was pain. Pain and defiance. I pressed harder on my wound, wincing, breath shallow. My body trembled with exhaustion, my vision dimming. And just before the darkness swallowed me, I thought I heard footsteps approaching, steady and deliberate. Rowan's scent hit me like a storm.
Cedar.
Smoke.
Power.
Then the world went black. Chapter 3: Chains of Denial. When I woke, the first thing I felt was the sting of clean bandages wrapped around my shoulder. The second was the scent that clung to the air, saturating every breath I took, cedar and smoke. Rowan. My heart lurched painfully against my ribs, the mate bond thrumming alive as if it recognized his touch even in absence. I sat up slowly, wincing as the wound pulled. I was in the healer's hut, the wooden beams low and dark above me, herbs hanging in bundles from the rafters. A small fire crackled in the corner, filling the space with warmth. And there, against the far wall, was Rowan. He stood with his arms crossed, shadows cutting harsh lines across his face. His eyes found mine instantly, sharp and unreadable, though the bond screamed with emotion I couldn't place: anger, guilt, hunger, denial, all tangled together. My throat tightened, words tangling before they left me. He had stayed. The alpha himself had stood guard while I bled and healed. My wolf keened, pressing against my chest, desperate to go to him, to touch, to claim. But his voice cut through the silence like a blade. You were reckless. My stomach dropped. That was all he had to say? Not gratitude. Not acknowledgement. Not even a trace of softness.
Just cold rebuke.
I clenched my fists in the blanket. I saved your life.
His jaw tightened.
I didn't need saving. I laughed, bitter and sharp. If I hadn't taken that rogue, you'd be dead. He stalked closer, towering over me, his presence suffocating. The bond flared with every step, heat coiling low in my belly, sparks racing over my skin. He smelled of blood and smoke, of battle and storm, intoxicating and overwhelming. I hated that my body leaned toward him, my wolf whimpering in desperate recognition. You think this bond makes you equal to me? His voice was low, dangerous. You think fate erases what you are? My chest heaved, fury sparking through the pain. I don't care what I am. The bond is real. You feel it too, you can't deny it. His eyes blazed for a heartbeat, raw and unguarded, before they iced over again. I can, and I will. He turned away sharply, pacing the small space, tension radiating from every line of his body. My nails dug into my palms until they broke skin. Why? The word ripped from me, broken, desperate. Why are you fighting it? Why do you hate me so much you'd throw away the one gift the goddess gave us? He froze, shoulders rigid, back to me. For a moment, I thought he wouldn't answer. Then his voice came, low and jagged. Because I refuse to be chained. My breath caught. He spun to face me again, eyes wild with fury and something darker. The mate bond is a leash. A weakness. I will not be ruled by it. I will not be ruled by you. His words cut deep, deeper than claws, but the bond pulsed hotter in protest, my wolf snarling inside me. It's not a chain, I whispered. It's strength. It's destiny. His gaze locked on mine, fierce and burning, and for a moment, the world fell away. The tension between us crackled, thick as lightning before a storm. His chest rose and fell sharply, his hands clenched into fists. And then he turned and stormed out of the hut, slamming the door so hard the herbs rattled from their hooks. I sat trembling, tears blurring my vision, the rejection tearing at me all over again. But beneath the hurt, beneath the rage, something inside me hardened. He could deny it. He could fight it. He could call it a chain. But the bond wasn't going anywhere. And neither was I. The following days were unbearable. Rowan avoided me more fiercely than ever, throwing himself into training, into patrols, into anything that kept him away from me. Yet I felt him everywhere. His scent lingered in the corridors of the pack house, in the courtyard where he sparred with warriors, in the forest where his wolf left paw prints beside mine. The bond clawed at me mercilessly, pulling me toward him, demanding I seek him out. Sometimes I caught him watching me from across the training grounds, his gaze fierce, conflicted, before he snapped it away. Sometimes I swore I felt his hand brush mine when we passed too close in narrow halls, the sparks igniting even through layers of denial. But then his walls would slam back up, cold and unyielding. The pack fed on the tension. Whispers grew louder. Some said I was cursed. Others said Rowan was cursed, rejecting what the goddess had given. Still others wondered if it was all a mistake, if perhaps I had only imagined the bond. Each whisper was a dagger, each laugh a scar. Yet I held my head high. I trained harder. I worked longer. I refused to crumble. But the nights were the worst. The bond throbbed with unbearable need, dragging dreams of Rowan into my restless sleep, his touch, his voice, his body pressed against mine in ways that left me breathless and burning when I woke. My wolf paced endlessly inside me, restless, desperate, angry. She didn't understand his denial. She wanted to run to him, to throw herself at his feet until he yielded. I couldn't let her. We would not beg. Not for him. It was nearly a week later when the next storm broke. I had just finished patrol, sweat and dirt clinging to my skin, when I heard raised voices near the Alpha's quarters. Curiosity tugged me closer, heart thundering as I recognized one of them, Rowan. The other belonged to his beta, sharp and insistent. Can't ignore it forever, the beta was saying. The pack is restless. They can smell the bond. They know she's yours. Rowan's growl split the air. She is nothing to me. Liar, the beta snapped. You can deny her to her face, but you can't deny me. I see the way you look at her, the way the bond pulls at you. You're unraveling, Rowan. My pulse raced, every nerve on fire. Silence stretched, heavy, tense. Then Rowan's voice came, low and jagged. I'd rather tear my own heart out than let that bond control me. The words struck like claws. I staggered back, my chest aching, my wolf howling in agony. But before I could slip away, a new voice cut through the night, cold, smooth, mocking. How interesting. I froze. Out of the shadows stepped a man I didn't recognize. Tall, with cruel eyes that glowed faintly in the moonlight, his smile sharp as knives. His scent was wrong, foreign, dangerous, laced with blood. Not a rogue. Something worse. Rowan's wolf surged forward in an instant, his growl shaking the ground. You shouldn't be here. The stranger tilted his head, gaze sliding to me. His smile widened.
Ah,
The rejected mate. Now things are getting very interesting indeed. My blood turned to ice. Chapter 4. The Stranger's Game. The air thickened, charged with menace as the stranger's gaze lingered on me. His eyes glowed faintly red, not gold like a wolf's, not silver like the goddess's chosen. Something older, darker. My instinct screamed danger. Rowan stepped between us instantly, his wolf bristling so fiercely that the air seemed to tremble with the weight of his fury. You will not touch her, he growled, voice low and savage, every syllable a promise of violence. The stranger chuckled, unbothered, his cruel smile never fading. Touch.
no.
I'm only curious. It isn't every day I find an alpha who rejects the bond so openly. Such a rare opportunity. His eyes flicked to me, drinking in my defiance even as my heart hammered against my ribs. The rejected mate is always the weakest link, isn't she? Shunned, unwanted, vulnerable. My wolf snarled inside me, my lips curling. I am not weak. The words left my mouth before I could stop them, sharp and defiant, though my pulse thundered with fear. Rowan's hand shot out, gripping my arm and yanking me behind him. The sparks from his touch burned, electrifying, and his body became a shield, broad and unyielding. Stay out of this, he snapped over his shoulder, but his grip lingered a second too long, betraying the bond he fought so desperately to deny. The stranger's grin widened, as if he saw every crack in Rowan's armor. How fascinating. The alpha pretends she means nothing, yet he guards her like a treasure. Tell me, Rowan, how long before the denial breaks you? Before it breaks her? Rowan lunged, claws flashing, but the stranger vanished into smoke before impact, his laughter echoing in the night like a curse. The scent of blood and ash clung to the air long after he was gone. Silence settled heavy between us. Rowan's chest heaved, his fists clenched at his sides, fury radiating from every taut muscle. I swallowed hard, my voice shaking. Who was that? He didn't answer. His gaze burned into the shadows where the stranger had stood, jaw tight, eyes wild. For once, the mighty alpha looked shaken. Go to your quarters, he ordered finally, his tone sharp enough to cut. But the command wasn't enough to mask the tremor in his voice. I stared at him, fury battling fear. You can't keep pushing me away. Whoever that was, he knew about us. He knew about the bond. Rowan's head snapped toward me, his eyes blazing. There is no us. The words lashed like a whip, cruel and final. Yet the bond pulsed hot and insistent between us, contradicting every syllable. He turned and strode away, leaving me trembling in the moonlight, alone with a truth he refused to face. The days that followed blurred together in a haze of unease. The stranger's presence hung over the pack like a shadow. Warriors doubled patrols, scouts combed the forests, but no one could find a trace of him. Still, the fear lingered, sharp and biting. Whispers spread like wildfire. A rival alpha, a dark wolf, a cursed spirit. No one knew for sure, but all eyes kept darting to me, the rejected mate, as if I had somehow called this doom down on us. I threw myself into training, refusing to cower, but every night I felt the bond pull tighter, rawer, as if Rowan's denial only sharpened the ache between us. Sometimes I woke gasping from dreams of him, my skin burning, my wolf pacing restlessly. Sometimes I swore I felt his presence outside my door, his shadow lingering like he wanted to enter but never dared. And always, I thought of the stranger's words. The alpha pretends she means nothing, yet he guards her like a treasure. It was 2 weeks later when the next blow struck. I was on night patrol when a scream tore through the trees, high and panicked. I sprinted toward it, claws half-shifted, my wolf snarling to be set free. In a clearing ahead, Two young pack members were cornered by shadows that rippled unnaturally, moving like smoke made flesh. My stomach dropped. The stranger's power. Before I could charge, a massive wolf burst from the trees, Rowan. His fur was black as midnight, eyes blazing gold, his presence filling the clearing like a storm. He ripped into the shadows with feral precision, his claws slicing through the smoky forms until they dissolved into nothing. The pack members fled, but I couldn't move. My wolf keened at the sight of him, the raw power, the undeniable bond that screamed between us. Then the shadows regrouped, surging back stronger, and one lunged straight for me. I barely had time to raise my claws before Rowan was there, slamming into it, his body shielding mine once again. Sparks exploded at the contact, a visceral reminder of the truth he kept burying. His wolf pinned me against the earth, his eyes locking with mine, burning with rage and something deeper, something hungry and forbidden. For a heartbeat, time froze. And then he tore away, finishing the last of the shadows with lethal ferocity. The clearing fell silent, only our ragged breaths filling the night. Rowan shifted back, naked and furious, blood streaking his skin. "What the hell were you doing out here alone?" he snapped, voice raw with more than anger. I pushed to my feet, shaking with adrenaline and fury. "Doing my duty. I'm not helpless." His jaw clenched. "You could have been killed." "So could you?" I shot back. "But you don't see me trying to control every move you make." His eyes blazed. "You're mine to protect." The words hung heavy, shocking us both. My heart slammed against my ribs. "Yours?" His face hardened instantly, as if he wanted to take the word back, bury it, deny it. But it was too late. The bond pulsed hot, triumphant. "Don't twist my words," he growled, but his voice cracked on the edges. I stepped closer, trembling, furious and aching all at once. "You can deny me all you want, Rowan, but the bond doesn't lie. It never will." For a moment, his hand twitched at his side, as if he wanted to reach for me. His eyes softened, raw need flashing through them. My breath caught, and then the stranger's laughter ripped through the trees, low and mocking. "How sweet," he drawled from the shadows. The alpha plays at rejection, yet the bond tightens around his throat. "Tell me, Rowan, how long before you choke on it?" Rowan's snarl shook the forest, his wolf surging forward again, but the stranger only laughed harder. This time, he stepped fully into the moonlight, his form more solid, power rolling off him in waves that made my skin crawl. His eyes glowed brighter, his smile cruel. "Shall we see how strong your denial really is?" He lifted a hand, and the air itself seemed to darken. My wolf shrieked in warning as the ground split, shadowed claws bursting upward, wrapping around Rowan's legs, dragging him down. His roar shook the clearing, but the shadows held firm. My heart stopped. The alpha, who denied me, was being swallowed whole before my eyes. And I knew I was the only one who could save him. Chapter 5. Pulled into shadow. The shadows dragged him downward like quicksand, claws of smoke curling tight around his legs, yanking with unnatural strength. Rowan's roar thundered through the night, shaking the trees, but even his raw alpha power couldn't break free. His hands clawed at the earth, muscles straining, teeth bared in fury. For a split second I stood frozen, terror rooting me to the spot as my wolf shrieked in panic. The mate bond burned like fire in my chest, screaming that if he was swallowed by the darkness, part of me would be torn away too. I didn't think. I launched forward, throwing myself at the shadows holding him, claws bared. They hissed at my touch, recoiling, but more surged upward, twisting and lashing out. One slammed across my ribs, knocking the air from my lungs, but I forced myself up, teeth snapping as I tore through the smoky tendrils. Sparks exploded across my skin as Rowan's hand shot out, gripping mine with desperate force. The bond flared between us, white-hot, igniting every nerve in my body. For a heartbeat, I saw something raw in his eyes, fear. Not for himself. For me. "Let go," he shouted, voice ragged, but his grip only tightened. "No," I snarled back, dragging against the pull of the shadows. "I won't lose you." A savage laugh echoed through the clearing. The stranger stepped forward, his form sharper now, his power heavier. "Look at this," he purred, red eyes gleaming. "The rejected mate clings, even as she's cast aside. Pathetic." Rage ignited in my chest, burning hotter than the fear. My wolf surged, slamming against the barrier of my skin, demanding release. I let go, shifting mid-motion, bones snapping, for bursting forth as my wolf took control. Power flooded me, primal and furious. With a snarl, I tore at the shadows, ripping through them with fangs and claws. Rowan's wolf exploded free beside me, black fur bristling, golden eyes blazing with untamed fury. Together we struck, bond weaving our movements into perfect synchronicity. Every strike I landed opened a path for him. Every snap of his jaws shielded me. The shadows shrieked under our combined assault, writhing as the stranger's expression twisted from amusement to fury. "Impossible," he hissed. The rejection should have weakened the bond. Rowan lunged at him with a snarl that shook the air, but the stranger dissolved into smoke again, slipping away before impact. His voice slithered through the darkness, mocking. "You can't fight what's already inside you, Alpha. Deny her all you like. The bond will devour you both." And then he was gone. The clearing fell silent, but for our ragged breathing. My wolf's fur was matted with blood, my body trembling with exhaustion. Rowan shifted first, collapsing to his knees, his chest heaving. Sweat and blood streaked his skin, his jaw tight, eyes dark with something I couldn't name. I shifted back too, collapsing across from him, gasping for air. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. The silence between us roared louder than any words. Finally, his voice broke it low and raw. "You could have died." My head snapped up, anger and relief warring in my chest. "So could you? What was I supposed to do? Stand there and watch while you were dragged into hell?" His gaze locked with mine, golden and burning, the mate bond pulsing hard between us. He looked furious, desperate, and something else, something almost vulnerable. His voice dropped, rough and unsteady. "You don't understand. If anything happens to you..." He cut himself off, jaw snapping shut, as if he'd revealed too much. My heart pounded, every instinct screaming at me to push, to make him admit what the bond already told us both. But his walls slammed back into place, cold and unyielding. He dragged himself to his feet, towering above me, every muscle taut with restraint. "Go back to the pack house," he ordered. "Now." "Rowan, now." The command in his voice struck like a whip, but underneath it was something else, something frayed and desperate. I staggered to my feet, glaring at him, fury and hurt twisting inside me. "One of these days," I said quietly, "you won't be able to run from the truth." His eyes flinched just slightly before hardening again. He turned his back to me, his broad shoulders trembling. I walked away, but the bond tugged painfully with every step, as if the distance itself was tearing at me. Sleep didn't come easily that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Rowan's hand reaching for mine, felt the bond blazing hot and undeniable. I saw the stranger's red eyes, his cruel smile, his words echoing like poison. The rejection should have weakened the bond. But it hadn't. If anything, the bond was stronger, binding us tighter with every battle, every touch. My wolf prowled restlessly inside me, whispering truths I didn't want to admit. "He's yours. No matter what he says, no matter how he fights, he's yours." I pressed a hand against my chest, where the bond pulsed like a second heartbeat, and whispered to the darkness, "Then why does it feel like he's killing us both?" The next morning, Rowan called the warriors to assemble. His voice was clipped, his expression unreadable, but his eyes flicked to me more than once, lingering just a heartbeat too long. "This threat is unlike anything we've faced before," he said, his tone hard. "Shadows that fight as soldiers, an enemy who slips through every strike. He's watching us, testing us. And he won't stop." The warriors shifted uneasily, exchanging wary glances. I felt their suspicion burning on me too. They didn't say it aloud, but their thoughts were clear. The stranger hadn't appeared until after Rowan rejected me. Coincidence? Or curse? Rowan's jaw tightened, his voice snapping like a blade. We double patrols. No one walks alone. And if you see even a whisper of shadow, you don't hesitate. You fight. His gaze swept the crowd, sharp and commanding. But when his eyes landed on me, just for a moment, the alpha's mask cracked. Fear flashed there. Not fear of the enemy. Fear of losing me. That night, as I walked back to my room, I felt it again. That pull, that heat, that ache. My hand hovered over Rowan's door as I passed, the bond tugging hard, begging me to enter. I almost did. I almost knocked, almost gave in. But before I could, the door swung open, and there he was, standing shirtless, sweat gleaming on his skin, golden eyes dark with a storm he couldn't control. We froze, the bond snapping taut between us, holding us prisoner in its grip. His chest rose and fell fast, his gaze locked on mine. For a heartbeat, no one moved. And then, low and hoarse, he whispered the words that shattered everything. I can't stay away from you. Chapter 6, Fractured Desire. The words hung between us like a live wire, sparking, impossible to take back. I can't stay away from you. My breath caught, every nerve in my body screaming at me to move, to close the space between us, to let the bond pull us together the way it was always meant to. Rowan stood in the doorway, chest heaving, golden eyes burning into mine with a hunger that stripped me bare. For a long moment, neither of us moved. The silence was thick, charged, every heartbeat louder than the last. My wolf pressed hard against my skin, begging to bridge the gap. I stepped forward without realizing it, and his hand shot out, gripping the doorframe as if holding himself in place was the only thing keeping him sane. His jaw clenched, muscle ticking, and his voice came low and rough. You drive me insane. My heart stuttered, then stopped fighting it. His eyes darkened, gold-rimmed with shadow. He shook his head like a man at war with himself. You don't understand. I can't. His voice broke, raw and jagged. Every time you're near me, I want to tear down the walls I've built. But if I give in, if I let myself, his hand clenched into a fist. I'll destroy you. My chest ached, the bond flaring in protest at his words. You're not destroying me, Rowan. You're destroying us by pretending it isn't real. He looked at me like I was fire, something both salvation and damnation. Slowly, almost reluctantly, he reached out, his fingers brushing my cheek. The bond exploded at the contact, heat and electricity flooding every vein, pulling me closer. His thumb traced my skin, and for the first time, there was no command in his touch, no alpha dominance, just raw need. My breath hitched as his face lowered toward mine, his lips brushing so close I could taste the warmth of his breath. Every instinct screamed to close the distance, to let it happen, to let him be mine. But just as the bond pulled us tight, he wrenched himself back with a violent growl, spinning away as if burned. His fists slammed against the wall, the sound cracking like thunder. Damn it, he snarled, chest heaving. This isn't supposed to happen. I rejected you. The bond should be breaking, fading. Not. He cut himself off, dragging a hand through his hair, trembling with rage and restraint. My chest tightened, anger and hurt bleeding together. You think rejecting me makes the bond disappear? That's not how fate works, Rowan. You can't just command destiny like you dear warriors. He turned on me, eyes blazing, pain and fury twisting his face. I have to. His voice was sharp, but underneath it was agony. Because every time I let myself feel this, I remember what happens when I lose control. I remember blood. I remember death. And I will not let you be another ghost haunting me. The weight of his words slammed into me, sharp and heavy. Ghosts. Guilt. A past he hadn't spoken of, but one that clearly chained him tighter than steel. My wolf whimpered inside me, torn between rage at his rejection and sorrow for the pain lacing his voice. I swallowed hard, stepping closer despite his warning, despite the danger. You think pushing me away will save me, but it won't. It will only break us both. His jaw clenched, every muscle rigid, but he didn't move when I closed the last of the distance. My hand brushed his chest, over the place where his heart thundered against my palm. The bond roared to life, heat spiraling between us. Overwhelming. His breath caught, his body shuddering as if the touch stripped him raw. You feel it, I whispered. No matter what words you say, your heart knows I'm yours. His eyes squeezed shut, his hand wrapping around mine, holding it against his chest. For one heartbeat, I thought he would surrender, that he would finally stop fighting. But then his grip tightened, and he pulled my hand away, stepping back as if distance could dull the ache. Go, he rasped, before I do something I can't take back. Pain lanced through me, sharp as claws, but I forced my chin high. You're already doing something you can't take back. His eyes opened, golden and tortured, but he didn't argue. He didn't stop me when I turned and walked away, though the bond screamed with every step, tearing at me like barbed wire. Sleep was impossible that night. My body burned where he'd touched me, my wolf pacing furiously, snapping at the walls he built between us. His scent clung to my skin, the bond pulsing with every heartbeat, relentless. My dreams were fire and shadow, Rowan's golden eyes watching me from the darkness, his voice whispering words I couldn't hold onto when I woke. By dawn, exhaustion weighed on me, but it was nothing compared to the hollow ache in my chest. Training that morning was brutal. Rowan drilled the warriors mercilessly, his command sharp, his expression unreadable. He didn't look at me once, but I felt him. Every movement I made, every strike I landed, his attention brushed over me like a ghost, hidden but constant. When sparring paired me with a male warrior twice my size, I felt the burn of his gaze sharpen, heavy and protective, though he didn't move. I fought harder, fueled by anger and the need to prove myself, claws slicing air as my wolf surged beneath my skin. I took the warrior down hard, pinning him with a growl that left the others staring. Rowan's jaw clenched, something flickering in his eyes before he barked the next command. But beneath the alpha mask, I knew the truth. He saw me, and he couldn't stop himself. That night, the shadows returned. I felt them before I saw them, the air turning cold, heavy, thick with wrongness. By the time I reached the edge of the woods, they were already there, curling smoke, red eyes glowing in the dark. The stranger's voice slithered through the night. Still clinging to a bond that should be dead? How amusing. My wolf bristled, lips curling back in a snarl. Show yourself, coward. He laughed, stepping into view, his form sharper now, more human than smoke. He rejected you. And yet, look how the bond rides, stronger with every heartbeat. How long before it consumes him? How long before it consumes you? His words twisted in my chest, cruel and sharp, but I didn't flinch. It won't consume us. It will save us. His smile widened, sharp and cruel. We'll see. He vanished before I could move, leaving the forest silent, his laughter echoing through the dark. And I knew, with bone-deep certainty, that Rowan's fight against the bond was not just breaking us. It was feeding the very darkness hunting us. That night, as I lay awake, the bond throbbed hot and relentless. I knew Rowan was awake too. I felt him through the bond, restless, burning, drowning in the same storm I was. And for the first time, I wasn't afraid of the bond's power. I was afraid of what would happen if Rowan kept denying it. Chapter 7: The Edge of Control. The bond was a living thing, coiled tight between us, refusing to weaken no matter how he tried to bury it. Days passed in restless cycles of training, silence, and stolen glances that burned hotter than fire, each one chipping away at the walls he had built. Rowan kept his distance, but his wolf didn't. I could feel it in the way his gaze tracked me even when he pretended not to, the way the air thickened whenever I stepped too close, the way his jaw tightened when another warrior lingered near me a second too long. The pack didn't speak of it, but I saw the flickers of curiosity in their eyes. They felt the tension too, the crackling current neither of us could hide no matter how hard we tried. One evening, training turned savage. Rowan's commands were sharp, his voice hard enough to cut stone. He pushed everyone to the brink, but his focus never strayed far from me. When I faltered, he was there in an instant, barking corrections, his hands brushing mine to adjust my stance. The brief contact seared through me, the bond roaring awake, making my breath stutter. His eyes darkened, gold flashing, and for a moment I thought he'd let the mask drop. But then he tore himself away, spinning on the next warrior with brutal orders. My wolf paced inside me, restless and wild. It wasn't just desire. It was instinct, the primal certainty that he was mine, that no rejection could undo what fate had woven. When training ended, I lingered at the edge of the clearing, watching as Rowan dismissed the warriors. His gaze found me, sharp and unreadable, and something inside me snapped. I turned and walked into the forest, needing air, needing distance. But I knew before long he was behind me, his presence unmistakable, his steps heavy against the earth. I spun on him, fury and ache colliding. "Why do you keep doing this?" My voice was sharp, trembling with the weight of everything I'd held in. His jaw tightened. "Doing what?" "Pushing me, pulling me, watching me like I'm yours when you've already made it clear I'm not." His eyes blazed, wolf prowling close to the surface. "You think I don't feel it?" His voice was low, harsh, cracking with restraint. "Every second you're near, my wolf wants to tear down every wall I've built. Do you know how hard it is to stand here and not?" He broke off, fists clenching. I stepped closer, heart pounding. "Then stop fighting. Stop pretending." His chest heaved, golden eyes locked on mine, and for a breathless moment it felt like the world stilled. Then a rustle snapped through the trees. Rowan's head whipped toward the sound, every muscle coiling. He moved in front of me instinctively, body tense, protective. Shadows flickered between the trees, too quick, too dark. His growl rumbled low, warning. "Stay behind me." But I was already bristling, my wolf surging forward. The air was thick, heavy, the same suffocating presence I'd felt before. And then, out of the dark, the stranger stepped. Smoke clung to him like a second skin, eyes glowing red. His smile was sharp, cruel. "Ah," he drawled, voice dripping mockery. The alpha and the mate he tried to cast aside. What a delicious contradiction. Rowan's growl deepened, vibrating through the ground. "You don't belong here." The stranger tilted his head, amused. "And yet here I am. Tell me, Alpha, does it tear at you, knowing you rejected her only for the bond to grow stronger? Does it drive you mad, watching her fight while you hide behind fear?" Rowan lunged, but the stranger vanished into smoke, reappearing farther off with a laugh. "Oh yes, I can see it. You're unraveling." His eyes slid to me, red glow burning. "And she feels it too. The bond isn't breaking, it's feeding me." My blood ran cold. Rowan snarled, shifting halfway, claws ripping through his skin. "You lay a hand on her, and I'll tear you apart." The stranger smirked. "You already are tearing her apart. With every denial. With every step you take back when fate pushes you forward." His laughter echoed as his form dissolved, vanishing into the night, leaving the air heavy with his absence. Rowan was breathing hard, golden eyes blazing, fury and guilt etched across his face. I stared at him, chest aching, the stranger's words cutting deep. Feeding on us. On him. On me. On the fracture between us. Rowan turned, voice raw. "This is exactly why I can't." His hand dragged through his hair, shaking. "Every weakness, every crack, they'll use it. You'll be the one who suffers." My throat tightened, anger and pain colliding. "And pushing me away will protect me?" "Rowan, it's killing me. It's killing us." His gaze locked on mine, burning with a torment that stole my breath. "I can survive it. You can't." My wolf snarled inside me, furious at the lie. Because we both knew the truth. Neither of us was surviving this. Not without the other. The days that followed were unbearable. Rowan grew colder, sharper, burying himself in duties and training. But his eyes betrayed him. Every time they found me, the mask cracked, if only for a second. Every brush of his presence left me trembling, the bond pulsing stronger, relentless. One night, unable to bear it, I wandered the village, seeking distraction. A young warrior approached, offering a smile, a spar, anything to draw me out of the storm I was drowning in. His kindness was harmless, but Rowan's gaze from across the clearing was not. His wolf surged in his eyes, sharp and dangerous, jealousy simmering beneath the surface. When the warrior brushed my arm, Rowan was there in an instant, gripped like iron as he shoved the boy back with a snarl. Gasps rippled through the pack, whispers sparking. Rowan loomed over the warrior, voice edged with lethal threat. "Don't touch her." The warrior stumbled back, wide-eyed, nodding quickly before retreating into the crowd. Silence fell, all eyes on us. Rowan turned, his chest heaving, eyes locking on mine with a heat that left me breathless. The bond pulsed, wild and demanding. But instead of claiming me, he spun and stalked away, leaving me standing in the middle of the pack, heart shattered, body burning. That night, the darkness came again. Stronger. Closer. The stranger's voice curled through my dreams, a whisper of smoke and fire. "He won't save you. He can't. Every time he denies you, he feeds me. And when he breaks, you'll break with him." I woke with a gasp, sweat slick on my skin, the bond screaming through me like a wound. Somewhere in the distance, I knew Rowan was awake too, pacing the storm we could no longer outrun. Chapter 8. The Shadow Strikes. The night was restless, thick with unease that clung to every corner of the village. The pack moved like shadows themselves, whispers carrying rumors of the stranger who had haunted our woods. No one said it aloud, but I felt the weight of it in every glance, every hand resting closer to a blade. Rowan prowled the training grounds long after the warriors had been dismissed, his wolf pressed so close to the surface I could almost feel its breath brushing against my skin. He didn't look at me, not directly, but his presence was a storm, and I was caught inside it. My dreams from the night before still clawed at me, the stranger's voice echoing in my skull. Feeding on us. On the fracture between us. The thought lodged deep, turning every pulse of the bond into both comfort and threat. I should have been afraid. Instead, I burned. I tried to avoid Rowan that day, burying myself in chores and small duties that kept me near the heart of the village. But even then, I could feel him, watching from the periphery, silent, unreadable, a shadow that never strayed far. By dusk, the air shifted. It was subtle at first, the way the birds fell silent, the way the wind stilled, the way the hairs on my arms rose as if the forest itself was holding its breath. Then the smoke came. Thin wisps at first, curling at the edges of the treeline, drifting like fog. My wolf bristled, claws itching, every instinct screaming danger. A howl split the air, sharp and urgent. The pack erupted into motion, warriors rushing to the perimeter, mothers pulling children into safe holds. Rowan's command rang out, a snarl of authority that cut through chaos, rallying his people. I pushed forward, heart racing, only to feel his hand clamp around my arm, spinning me back. His eyes burned gold, furious. "Stay here." I ripped free, chest heaving. "I can fight. Not against this." His tone was sharp, final, but his gaze lingered on mine too long, torn between fury and fear. Another howl tore through the night, this one strangled, choked off by something darker. Rowan cursed, shifting in a blur of bone and fur, his massive wolf form shaking the earth as he lunged toward the treeline. I followed, my wolf surging forward inside me, demanding release. Smoke thickened, swallowing the moonlight. Figures emerged, shadows made flesh, eyes glowing red. They moved with unnatural speed, their bodies half-formed, dripping darkness. Warriors clashed with them, steel meeting smoke, But every strike seemed to scatter them only for the pieces to reform, stronger, hungrier. Rowan tore through them, claws ripping, fangs shredding, but even he struggled as the shadows swarmed. I shifted mid-stride, my own wolf bursting free, power roaring through me as I launched at the nearest creature. My jaws snapped, tearing into smoke and bone, the taste bitter and foul, but my bite held. It shrieked, dissolving into nothing. Rowan's golden eyes found me across the chaos, blazing with something fierce and desperate. For a moment, it was as if the battlefield narrowed to just us, the bond pulling taut, guiding our movements. We fought together as if we had never been apart, every strike in rhythm, every turn anticipating the other. But the stranger's laughter cut through the din, curling smoke around the trees. His form solidified at the edge of the clearing, red eyes glowing, grin sharp and cruel. "Beautiful," he crooned, voice carrying like a tocsin. "So beautiful, watching you dance on the edge of destruction. The bond fuels you, yes, but it fuels me more." Rowan lunged, but the stranger dissolved, reappearing behind me. His hand shot out, cold and burning at once, seizing my throat. Pain ripped through me, searing fire that sent my wolf thrashing. Rowan roared, his wolf form hurtling toward us, fury incarnate. The stranger laughed, grip tightening. "Ah, there it is. The truth. You'll tear yourself apart for her. You already are." The bond pulsed, wild, frantic, my chest burning as if it might shatter. Rowan slammed into the stranger, claws raking, forcing him to release me. I stumbled back, gasping, vision swimming. Rowan's wolf towered over the shadow, golden eyes blazing with a feral light that shook me to my core. For the first time since his rejection, there was no restraint in him, no distance. Only raw, savage need to protect. The stranger sneered, smoke curling around his wounds as they stitched closed. "You can't kill what was never alive." His gaze flicked to me, lips curling. "But you can break her. And when you do, she'll be mine." Rowan lunged again, the ground shuddering beneath his weight, his claws raking through smoke and shadow. The stranger dissolved, laughter echoing as his form scattered into the night, leaving only the stench of ash and fear. The pack regrouped, warriors bloodied but alive, the shadows retreating as quickly as they had come. Rowan shifted back, chest heaving, blood streaking his skin. His gaze locked on me, raw and unguarded, the bond screaming between us. He stepped closer, trembling with restraint, his hand almost reaching before he yanked it back. His voice was rough, breaking. "This is what I was trying to protect you from." My throat tightened, anger and pain tingling. "And all you did was make me a target." His eyes closed, jaw clenched, every line of him torn in two. When they opened again, they burned with something I couldn't name, something too sharp, too fragile, too dangerous. "If I lose control, I lose you. If you keep fighting fate, you already have." Silence stretched, heavy, suffocating, the bond thrumming like a live wire between us. He turned away before I could say more, barking orders to the warriors, hiding behind duty like armor. But I had seen it, the crack in his walls, the moment he let the mask slip. The truth his wolf could no longer deny. And so had the stranger. That night, I couldn't sleep. The echo of his grip on my throat lingered, the stranger's words gnawing at me. Feeding on us. Feeding on every fracture, every hesitation. My wolf paced, restless, certain of one truth. Rowan's restraint was no longer protecting us. It was destroying us. And unless he chose differently, soon it wouldn't be the shadows that broke me. It would be him. Chapter 9. The Edge of Control. The fire from the battle lingered in the air long after the shadows retreated, smoke coiling like ghosts through the village, settling into my lungs until it felt like I was breathing ash. The healers moved swiftly, tending to the wounded, but every face I saw was etched with fear. No one had ever seen creatures like that, not even the elders. They whispered of curses, of old magic that should have been long dead. I knew better.
This wasn't just about the pack. This was about me, about Rowan, about the fracture between us that pulsed like an open wound for the enemy to feed on. I tried to lose myself in helping the healers, washing blood from cuts, fetching bandages, anything to keep my hands busy. But no matter what I did, I felt him. His presence heavy and constant, his gaze cutting across the distance between us like a blade. Rowan stood with the warriors, issuing orders, his body tense and raw, every inch of him vibrating with restrained violence. His voice carried over the crackling of fires, firm, commanding, but beneath it was something darker, something frayed. I knew the bond was clawing at him, as much as it clawed at me. Every time our eyes met, the world tilted, the pull between us snapping taut. He broke the stare first every time, as if looking too long might shatter the fragile barrier he'd built between us. By midnight, the wounded were stable, the fires dying down to embers. Still, Rowan didn't rest. He prowled the edges of the village like a caged wolf, golden eyes flashing each time he caught a hint of smoke or shadow in the trees. I followed at a distance, silent, my wolf restless beneath my skin. He must have felt me, because, without turning, he said, voice rough, "You shouldn't be here." I stepped closer anyway, arms crossed against the night chill. And yet, here I am. His shoulders stiffened, but he didn't push me away. Not this time. He stared out into the darkness, jaw tight, the moonlight painting his scars in silver. "They came for you." His words were low, dangerous. "Not for us. Not for the pack. For you. Because of you." I shot back before I could stop myself. His head snapped toward me, eyes blazing. For a heartbeat, fury and guilt warred in his gaze, but beneath it all was something raw. Something that stripped me bare. "I've spent every day since rejecting you trying to keep you safe," he growled, voice breaking, "and it only made you more vulnerable." I swallowed hard, my chest aching. Then maybe you were wrong. Maybe the bond isn't a curse. Maybe it's the only thing strong enough to fight this. His breathing turned ragged, his wolf pressing so close I could almost see it in the sharp edge of his teeth, the tremble in his hands. He took a step closer, the space between us crackling with heat, every breath pulling his scent deeper into me. "You don't know what you're asking," he whispered, voice hoarse. "You don't know what I'll do to you if I stop fighting this." My wolf howled at the challenge, demanding, aching, clawing at the inside of my chest. I stepped into him, close enough to feel the burn of his skin, the electric pull of the bond screaming between us. Then stopped fighting. His control shattered. One moment he was still, trembling on the edge of restraint. The next his hands were on me, rough and desperate, pulling me against him as if he could fuse us together. His mouth crushed against mine, a growl ripping from his throat, the sound so primal it shook me to my bones. The bond surged, flooding me with heat and light, a tidal wave of sensation that tore a gasp from my lips. For the first time since the night he'd rejected me, I felt whole. His wolf poured into me, fierce and wild, demanding, claiming without words. I melted into him, clutching at his shoulders, my own wolf howling with triumph. But then he broke. With a ragged snarl, Rowan tore himself away, stumbling back as if I'd burned him. His chest heaved, golden eyes wild, pain carved into every line of his face. "No," he rasped, shaking his head, fists clenched at his sides. "If I take this any further, I'll never let you go. And if I lose control," his voice cracked, the words raw with torment, "I'll destroy you." I stood frozen, chest heaving, lips bruised, the echo of his kiss still burning on my skin. The bond howled in protest, clawing at the sudden distance, begging to close the gap again. "You already are," I whispered, voice breaking. His jaw clenched, his gaze shattering against mine before he turned, storming into the darkness, leaving me trembling, aching, furious. That night, sleep was impossible. My wolf paced restlessly, every nerve in my body still alive with his touch. But beneath the fire was something sharper, fear. Not of him, but of what was coming.
If Rowan couldn't hold himself back, if he broke completely, he might not stop at claiming me. He might destroy everything in his path. And still, even knowing that, I wanted him. More than anything. By dawn, the pack gathered again, wary eyes turning to Rowan as he stood before them, his presence darker, heavier than I had ever felt. He didn't look at me once, but I felt him all the same. The bond throbbed like a bruise, pulsing with every heartbeat. When he spoke, his voice was cold, commanding, but I heard the fracture beneath. The enemy is not done with us. Last night was only a warning. They want her. They want our bond. And they will not stop until they have it. The pack shifted uneasily, murmurs rising. Rowan's gaze swept over them, sharp and unyielding. I will not let them take what's mine. The words rang out like an oath, silencing the crowd. My breath caught, my heart hammering. What's mine? He hadn't said it to me, but the bond roared at the claim, recognizing it even if he couldn't. He dismissed the pack, leaving them to prepare defenses, but I couldn't move. His words echoed inside me, dangerous and intoxicating, a promise and a threat all at once. And as he walked away, every step radiating fury and desperation, I realized the truth I had been trying to ignore. Rowan was unraveling, and when he broke completely, I would be the one caught in the storm. Chapter 10: The Crack in the Alpha. The morning light was brittle, fractured by smoke still lingering over the valley, the kind of pale gold that made everything feel fragile, temporary, like it could all be swept away with one harsh wind. The pack moved in tense silence, repairing what they could, fortifying what remained. No one spoke of the shadows. No one dared. They had seen the way Rowan stood before them, voice edged with steel, eyes lit with a fire none of them could challenge. He had always been their strength, their shield. But now there was something else in him, something darker, something that rattled even the bravest of warriors. I felt it too. The bond carried it straight into me, every flicker of rage, every jagged edge of restraint. It was like living tethered to a storm. I kept to the edges, working alongside the healers, collecting herbs from the forest, anything to keep my hands from shaking. But no matter how far I wandered, I felt him, watching, breathing the same air, circling closer, without ever stepping near enough to touch. The others noticed too. Their glances darted between us like whispers. They didn't know what had happened in the night, how close Rowan had come to breaking, but they sensed it. Wolves always sensed weakness in the bond. And if they could sense it, so could the enemy. By dusk, a scouting party returned with grim faces. The shadow creatures had been seen again, further south, trailing the river that cut through the forest. Too close. Always too close. Rowan called a war council in the long hall, the fire pit roaring in the center as warriors and elders gathered. I slipped in with the others, heart pounding, trying to keep to the back, but it didn't matter. His gaze found me the moment I entered, golden eyes flaring with possession before he snapped his attention away. I folded my arms, pretending not to notice, but my wolf purred, traitorous and desperate. The meeting was tense. Rowan laid out defenses, spoke of patrols, of magic too old for any of us to understand. But every time another warrior spoke too close to me, every time another man's eyes lingered on me for a breath too long, Rowan's control slipped. His voice sharpened, his body coiled, his wolf prowling just beneath the surface. When Darius, one of the younger warriors, offered to accompany me on herb gathering at dawn, Rowan's chair scraped back with a growl so low and dangerous it froze the entire hall. Silence crashed over us. Darius paled, his voice cracking as he muttered, "Of course, Salva. Forgive me." Rowan's glare didn't soften. Not until the boy practically fled the hall. Then slowly, with deliberate force, Rowan lowered himself back into his chair, fists clenched white, jaw tight enough to splinter. The meeting ended quickly after that, the air too charged, the fire burning too hot. No one said a word to me as they filed out, though their eyes screamed with questions. I stayed rooted to the shadows, pulse racing, until Rowan finally rose and stalked out into the night. I followed. I don't know why. Maybe because the bond dragged me like a chain. Maybe because part of me wanted to see how close to the edge he really was. The night air was cold, the stars sharp above us, but Rowan radiated heat. He stood at the edge of the training grounds, breathing hard, hands flexing as though he couldn't decide if he wanted to fight or break. I stepped closer, every nerve screaming at me to turn back. "You can't keep doing that," I said quietly. His head snapped toward me, eyes blazing with fury and hunger. Doing what? Driving them away. Growling at anyone who even looks at me. Pretending I don't exist one moment, and then... My voice broke, but I forced it steady. And then almost breaking me the next. His chest heaved, his wolf snarling in his gaze. "They can't have you." The words were a growl, ripped from somewhere raw. "None of them. No one. He cut himself off, turning away, but the bond carried the rest.
Mine.
My heart stuttered. "You can't say things like that, Rowan. You can't claim me one second and shove me away the next." He spun back, closing the distance in 2 strides, towering over me, golden eyes molten. "You think I want this?" he hissed, his breath hot against my skin. "You think I want to feel you in every breath I take? To smell you in every corner of this cursed land? To burn every time another man even dares speak your name?" His voice broke, low and ragged. "I don't want it. But I can't stop it. I can't stop wanting you." His hands shook as he reached up, fingers hovering just shy of my skin, trembling as if touching me would set him ablaze. My wolf surged forward, desperate, clawing for him, and I hated myself for how much I wanted him to. "Then stop pretending," I whispered. His jaw locked, his control splintering, and for a heartbeat I thought he would. That he would finally break, finally let the bond consume him. But before he could move, a voice slid out of the shadows.
Cold.
Familiar.
Wrong.
How touching. We both froze, snapping toward the treeline where the air rippled with darkness. A figure stepped out, draped in black, eyes glowing faintly with an otherworldly light. I recognized her instantly. The witch from the night of my rejection, the one who had cursed Rowan's bloodline generations ago. She smiled, a cruel curve of lips. "The bond burns you both. How delicious. The alpha who cannot claim his mate, and the mate who cannot escape his pull. Such weakness. Such perfect cracks to pry apart." Rowan snarled, stepping in front of me, his wolf bursting close to the surface. "You'll leave her out of this." Her laugh was soft, mocking. "Oh, Alpha. You don't even see it, do you? She is the key. She is the reason you're a control phrase. The reason your pack trembles when you walk by. Because she makes you less a leader and more a beast." Rowan's growl deepened, vibrating through the ground, but I felt his tremor, the bond screaming with his fear. Because she was right. The witch tilted her head, eyes gleaming.
"Choose, Alpha.
Bind yourself to her, and watch your wolf consume you. Or reject her again, and leave her open to me. Either way, you lose." The ground seemed to tilt beneath me, the weight of her words sinking like stones in my chest. Rowan's body shook, golden eyes torn between fury and despair. His hand twitched, reaching for me before curling into a fist. "Get out," he growled, voice shaking with rage. "Get out before I tear you apart." She only smiled wider, fading back into the shadows, her voice lingering in the air like smoke. "We'll see, Alpha. We'll see which breaks first, your will or your bond." Silence crashed over the clearing. Rowan stood frozen, chest heaving, his entire body trembling with the force of holding himself together. I reached for him, but he stumbled back, eyes wild, breath ragged. "Don't," he rasped, his voice breaking. "Don't touch me. If you do, I won't stop. I'll never stop." And then he was gone, vanishing into the night, leaving me shaking, my wolf howling with fury and loss, the witch's words echoing like a curse I couldn't escape. Chapter 11. The Last Battle. The night bled into chaos. Howls ripped through the valley, warning cries from the outer patrols as shadows surged like a tide. The witch had not lied. She was finished with whispers. Tonight she came for us. The pack scrambled into formation, weapons flashing in the firelight, wolves shifting and snarling as the first wave of shadow creatures poured into the clearing. I ran with them, herbs and poultices useless now, a dagger clutched in my hand though my heart hammered with dread. Rowan was already at the front, a golden blaze in the darkness, his wolf straining to burst free. Every strike of his claws tore through the enemy, every growl shook the ground, but it wasn't enough. For every shadow we cut down, two more emerged. The air thickened with smoke and magic, choking bitter. The witch's laughter carried on the wind, high and cruel. You cannot fight what you are, Alpha. You cannot fight me. Rowan roared, hurling himself at the darkened treeline, but even his strength wavered. His wolf was too close, his control fraying with every heartbeat. I felt it all through the bond. The terror, the fury, the desperate need to protect. It shredded me from the inside, but it also lit something fierce in me. He wasn't the only one with power in this bond. I tore through the battlefield, shadows clawing at my arms, fangs snapping at my throat. I stabbed, ducked, clawed, every inch of me fueled by the bond's burn. Rowan's golden eyes never left me even when he was drenched in blood, even when the witch herself stepped into the clearing. She raised her hands, and the shadows froze, hissing, curling like smoke at her command. The battlefield stilled. The pack stood trembling, encircled, trapped. Rowan staggered forward, his chest heaving, his wolf burning so hot I could feel it singeing my skin even from yards away. The witch's voice dripped like poison. Choose, Alpha. Claim her, and become the monster you fear. Or reject her again, and I will take her for my own. With her, my shadows will never fall. Your pack will burn. Your line will end. My breath caught, the truth slamming into me. This was what she wanted all along. Not the pack. Not the valley. Me. Because the bond was power, and through me she could control him, destroy us all. Rowan fell to his knees, clutching his chest, the bond ripping through him like fire and glass. I felt it too, the edges cutting, the tether straining to the breaking point. His eyes found mine, wild, desperate, terrified. I can't, he gasped, voice breaking. I can't hurt you. I can't destroy you. But I can't let her take you. I can't. Tears blurred my vision, but my voice rose clear, steady. Then stop fighting it. Stop fighting me. The bond won't break us, Rowan. It will save us. If we do it together. The witch hissed, lifting her hands higher, shadows writhing with fury. Lies. He is too weak. He will devour you, and when he does, you will beg for me to free you. Rowan's hands shook, his claws scraping the dirt, his body trembling with the force of holding back. His wolf howled inside him, primal, savage, begging to claim, begging to bind. He looked at me, broken, shattered, but still burning. If I do this, there's no going back. No walls. No distance. You'll have all of me. The darkness, too. My heart cracked open, my wolf howling with longing. I stepped closer, ignoring the witch's scream, ignoring the shadows that lunged and snapped. Then give me all of it. The darkness, too. Because I am not afraid of you, Rowan. I am afraid of losing you. His breath hitched, a sound like surrender, like salvation. Then he moved. In a blur of gold and fury, he surged forward, seizing me, his lips crashing onto mine in a kiss that was not gentle, not careful. It was fire and teeth and desperation, the bond snapping taut between us, then shattering and reforging all at once. Heat exploded through me, white-hot, flooding every vein with power, with love, with everything he had held back. His wolf roared, not in rage but in triumph, and my wolf answered, our souls colliding, entwining, becoming one. The air cracked with light, golden threads lashing out from us, striking the shadows like lightning. They screamed, recoiling, burning under the force of the bond restored. The witch shrieked, her magic faltering, her control unraveling. No. This is impossible. but it was too late. Rowan tore free, rising to his full height, golden eyes blazing with a power that was no longer fractured. His voice shook the ground, the sky, the very air. "She is mine, my mate, my equal, and you will never touch her." Together we surged forward, the bond fueling us, every strike amplified, every claw burning with light. The pack rallied, howls splitting the night as they charged behind us. Shadows dissolved under our touch, fading into ash and smoke, their screams drowned by the thunder of our bond. The witch fought, her magic clawing at us, but it splintered against the shield our souls had forged. Her eyes widened with fear for the first time, her form flickering, unraveling. "No, this cannot be." Rowan's claws tore through the last of her shadowed veil, my dagger plunging into her chest with the force of our joined wolves. She screamed, body convulsing, light searing from within until she shattered into nothing but dust on the wind. Silence fell, broken only by the ragged breaths of the pack, the crackle of dying flames. Then a howl rose, strong and fierce, answered by another and another, until the valley trembled with the sound of victory. Rowan turned to me, golden eyes still blazing, but no longer wild, no longer fractured. He cupped my face with hands that shook not with restraint, but with awe. "I almost lost you," he whispered, voice raw. "I almost damned us all." Tears streaked my cheeks as I pressed into his touch. "But you didn't. You came back. You chose me." His forehead rested against mine, the bond humming warm and whole between us. "I will never let you go again. Not in this life. Not in any life." I smiled through my tears, my wolf purring in fierce contentment. "Good. Because you're stuck with me now, Alpha." He laughed, a sound broken and beautiful, and kissed me again, slower this time, softer, but no less consuming. Around us, the pack gathered, weary but alive, their eyes shining with hope. For the first time in generations, they had seen an alpha and his mate stand not as ruler and shadow, but as equals, bound in light instead of chains. The dawn broke over the valley, golden and pure, washing the blood and smoke away with promise. And in Rowan's arms, with the bond burning bright between us, I knew we had survived more than a battle. We had survived each other. And now, finally, we could begin. Epilogue. The valley had never looked brighter. Weeks had passed since the battle, yet the earth still seemed to hum with the memory of our bond blazing through the night. The trees stood taller, greener, the rivers clearer. Even the air tasted sweeter, as if the land itself had been healed when the shadows fell. The pack rebuilt together, scars still raw but spirits unbroken. For the first time in years, laughter echoed through the dens at night. Children played without fear, and no one flinched when darkness touched the edge of the forest. Rowan stood at the center of it all, not just as Alpha, but as a man remade. His shoulders still bore the weight of leadership, but the shadow of his guilt no longer dragged him down. When he looked at me now, it wasn't with torment or hesitation. It was with awe, with reverence, with love so deep it made my chest ache. Some nights, when the moon hung full and silver, he shifted beside me, his golden wolf curling protectively around mine. Other nights, he held me close in human form, whispering promises against my skin until sleep claimed us both. We were no longer halves trying to resist. We were whole. Yet peace did not mean stillness. One evening, as the pack gathered around the fire, Rowan took my hand before them all. His voice was steady, filled with quiet command. "No alpha rules alone. No bond thrives in silence. From this day, you will look to her as you look to me. My mate, my equal. Together we lead. Together we protect." The pack held their approval, a sound so fierce it rattled the stars. For the first time, I felt not like an outsider struggling for a place, but like I truly belonged. Their eyes met mine without doubt, without question. They saw me, and I saw them. Still, not all scars fade with a single battle. Whispers reached us of other witches stirring beyond the mountains, of restless packs sniffing at our borders, testing the strength of our unity. Shadows might rise again, as they always do. But I was no longer afraid, because I had Rowan's hand in mine, his wolf beside mine, our bond unbreakable. Whatever came, we would face it together. Later that night, under a sky drenched in stars, Rowan pulled me to the highest ridge overlooking the valley. The wind whipped my hair, carrying the scent of pine and earth, and his arms wrapped around me from behind. "Do you hear that?" he whispered. I listened, frowning. At first I heard only the rustle of leaves, the distant calls of night birds. Then I heard it, the steady, powerful thrum of paws pounding the earth below, the heart of the pack running free. My wolf stirred, humming with joy. I leaned back into him. "They're alive. They're strong. Because of you." His lips brushed my temple. "Because of us." I thought I knew what it meant to be alpha, but it wasn't until I nearly lost you that I understood. Power isn't control. It's trust. It's love. It's standing together even when it hurts. I turned in his arms, pressing my hands to his chest, feeling the steady beat of his heart. "Then promise me something, Rowan. Promise me we'll never go back to silence. Promise me we'll always fight, even if it's with each other, even if it's with the world." His golden eyes softened, glowing with the bond's warmth. "I promise. In this life, in every life." His mouth found mine, slow and certain, sealing the vow with a kind of kiss that left no room for fear, no space for regret. Only us, bound forever, alpha and mate, darkness and light. And as the moon rose high above the valley, painting us in silver fire, I knew our story was only beginning.